here, and if you're now just watching on Facebook Live, let me just say that our interview that we're going to have with General Manager Paul Kleinhound-Schultz of the Greenville Reds, it's going to be delayed. I'm going to try to see if we can't get it on later on today, but our phone lines are out. And so I'm not sure exactly what to tell you about that, but our phone lines are out. So it gives me a chance really to, I guess, break down a little bit the ETSU game last night. I wanted to, 11 in a row, third longest winning streak in the nation. Bucks now 17-4. And, you know, people are now, I think that the thing is that we're going to struggle a bit with Mercer as a talented team, despite the fact they're 3-5 in the conference, underachieving. But eventually a 9-point victory, 84-75, a little more scoring. Even without Bo Hodges, his knee injury kept him out. Jalen McLeod, however, is the guy that really stepped to the forefront. And again, I'd like to remind you that if you tuned in to hear the Greenville General Manager, Paul Kleinhound-Schultz, our phone lines are down. So I have sent him an email seeing if he can't call us, if that is going to be a possibility. But right now I can't contact him. So the interview, we will have it, but it's been delayed. So let's go right to the basketball game last night. 25 points, Jalen McLeod with Bo Hodges not out in there. Steve Forbes spoke of, thought his team might be a bit complacent. That's why it was kind of an even Steven game for the first, 30 minutes. And in fact, there was a period of time late in the ball game where Mercer had reduced the ETSU lead to just 4 points. And I don't want to get into, you can't expect to blow teams out every night. You know, a 9-point victory over Mercer is a fine victory. Any way you slice it, as far as I'm concerned. But nevertheless, you know, the team just continues to roll and roll and roll. And now people are talking about things that I like to talk about with this team. And it's that the flaws of college basketball on the mid-major level, where, okay, it's fun to beat a rival. It's for ETSU. You got to love it when you beat Chattanooga, Western Carolina, somebody, you know, longtime rival. Go out of conference. You beat Northern Kentucky, team that makes the NCAAs last year. Fine, great. You know, bold try against Xavier, Kentucky, what have you. But 11 in a row, and it's fun to follow the streak. Don't get me wrong. Wofford comes up next. Got to travel to Spartanburg. And that may be the toughest date left on the ETSU schedule. Some may say going to UNCG, and there's a legitimate argument for that. But this is going to be the one, Wofford. It's a team, they've defeated 2 ACC teams this year. I theorized after they beat North Carolina, could Wofford be that first ever team that could make the NCAA tournament and an at-large bid out of the Southern Conference? Probably won't happen, but if it is, then it would have to be a circumstance in which Wofford, I think, would win the rest of their games, including this one against ETSU, and then somehow lose, let's say, to ETSU in the Southern Conference tournament. But ETSU's RPI rating is higher than Wofford's. And the interesting thing is that TeamRankings.com has the ETSU Buccaneers favored to win all the remainder of their scheduled games. For here on out, you know. Anyway, just Jalen McLeod, he transferred from Texas Southern, 25 points. You know, he's been a big, huge newcomer. Nobody saw him coming. Where's Texas Southern? And has been a godsend for the Bucks, taking over with the loss of Bo Hodges. What can you say? But again, as I mentioned, it gets to the point of, well, where do we go from here? You know, Bucks win, another game, doesn't have a real exciting finish. Where do we go from here? And this goes into some of the unsatisfaction of mid-major NCAA basketball, and it's something that I think the NCAA has to correct, and it's not done by collegeinsider.com tournaments. It's not even done with the NIT. It's done by fixing the NCAA tournament, and I'm going to tell you how I would do that here very shortly. Because right now, all this is forgotten, all for naught, if ETSU doesn't win the conference tournament. So this is all for seeding. This is all for show. I guess a little bit of pussy with seeding, but that isn't all that satisfying. There's not that, there's the feeling of, oh, the ETSU Buccaneers will be the team to beat in the SoCon tournament. Yes, they will. But they still need to win the tournament. It just goes to, fans are showing up. Wednesday night game, more than 4,700 at Freedom Hall, which I think is an impressive crowd considering that there's nothing to do around Freedom Hall. Sightlines are good, that's true. But people are now talking about, well, where do we go from here? Is it always going to be, team does real well, has some nice moments, but it all comes down to 3 days in Asheville, and then realistically, the NCAA tournament means the guillotine. Or could there be a change? We talked about, I mentioned here, throwing out a pipe dream, XFL team for the Tri-Cities. That's coming out there. Don't really, somebody wants to build a stadium. Okay. How about this? How about we have a circumstance in which a new arena, I've talked about this a lot. Fans are discussing this on the internet. Some are saying, no, you don't really need it, too much money. Fact of the matter is, if ETSU had forward vision and realized that the community actually needed one for better concerts, circuses, what have you, events, long ago, and that would have revitalized a downtown, or certainly, let's say you put it in the middle of the area. Let's say you put it, I don't know, where the old Sam's Club, and it's actually Kingsport officially, because they gerrymandered the city.
Who are we playing tomorrow night?
We're playing Unicoi County plays Johnson County.
Where?
Here.
Thanks.
All right.
Johnson County.
Yes. There you are. Anyway. So we'll get to that, by the way, here in just a second. But the circumstance then comes out in which, why not think about how ETSU as a program can improve? Is that a new arena? Is it a new conference? By the way, I sent out earlier this morning, we're going to try to get John Iamarino, the conference commissioner of the Southern Conference, come on the show. He's been on the show before. I'm sure it'll happen. But look for that in coming days ahead, unless there's scheduling conflicts or phone lines that go down. But it's gotten to the point, I think, where fans around here, they're sort of like, okay, 11 in a row, but is that all there is? Been waiting for this. During the Mullen-Stanton era, there was a lot, the team had gotten mediocre. And now, we're waiting for, really, I think they're waiting for 1991 again. People are wondering how that can happen. This team was nationally ranked. Why can't that happen again? That's what they're asking. And is the Southern Conference capable of putting a team into national rankings again? Davidson with Steph Curry was nationally ranked. Year after they made the Elite Eight, they did spend some time in the top 25. It has happened. There has never been a two-bid league. Now, ETSU can do a lot to right its own ship, and possibly the Southern Conference can as well. I don't know, and I've asked John Iamarino, look, what can you do about, say, a VMI? Really? I mean, a school like that seems to drag down the conference RPI rating. And he basically says not much. I'll ask him the question again. But you look at a circumstance like that, and then you say, what could the NCAA do to have a more even field in terms of competition? I've long suggested that in addition to the conference tournament champions making the NCAAs, and I think that they should, the conference championship is always going to be a nice event. It's going to be Christmas Day for whatever conference chooses to have one, and 30 of the 31 conferences have a tournament. The Ivy League doesn't. Their regular season champ makes the NCAAs. But in addition to that, then you should have the regular season champion make it. Now, there'll be some talk then about, well, would that regular season champ in the conference tournament give 100% effort in a conference tournament? Possibly they would for a seeding. I mean, right now, that's what ETSU is playing for, seeding, right? Southern Conference. So why would this be any different? That's the question. Maybe it's a bit, not a 100% argument, but the thing that it would do is this. It would actually make really the 350-odd Division I schools kind of equalize them. Now, the major conferences won't want that, but again, I think for the sport of college basketball, for the health, it behooves college basketball to have, say, a strong Chicago State. It allows Chicago State to think that, they really are a D1 and not just a whipping boy. Because really, even in ETSU, as successful as they've been, that's what they're lined out to be right now. But if you allow a regular season champion, as well as a tournament champion, to make it, then you would have a circumstance where the regular season suddenly means something for all conferences. Now, what happens if in that conference tournament, the regular season champion also wins the conference tournament? Very easy. That opens up an at-large berth. I honestly would take the NCAAs down to 64 again, and I'd do it this way. And what I'd do then is, if you do the math on it, that's 61 berths that would be slotted some way, somehow. What then would happen is you'd have 3 at-larges. Those would go to the major conferences. Okay, fine. But whenever you'd have a team that won the regular season, won their conference tournament, opens up an at-large berth. And again, it would be a big boy, but it would probably be deserving. A third place ACC, Big 12, SEC type team. Big East, possibly. This conference would be strong, but there would also be that strong David versus Goliath feel to it. And you'd have a lot more of the smaller schools really trying to play with the big boys. And I think that's what people think the NCAAs are all about. I've listened to Colin Cowherd. I've heard him talk about, hey, when the number 1 seeds made it to the Final Four that one year, the NCAA tournament ratings went up by 6%. They certainly did. We want to see the major teams. Okay. Then why did Butler, during their run, do such attention and such great ratings? For that matter, why is the greatest rating a college basketball game has ever gotten Michigan State, Indiana State in the 1979 NCAA finals? Oh, that's Magic and Larry Bird. Who knew who they were at that time? It was the opening act, sure. There's no way of knowing in 1979 that these two players would define basketball throughout the 80s. And maybe there's some debate about that, because there are, obviously, Dr. J at the end of his career, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar at the end of his career, in that era, Isaiah Thomas, Michael Jordan coming to the NBA in 1984, I believe it was. But why not? Why not? I mean, you've got that. I would think that that would add so much appeal and would create interest in every team, all 351's college basketball schedule, which really, one of the major conferences, it doesn't have it. So one of the reasons, by the way, that I talk about when we say the college football playoff and people say, oh, it should expand to 8 teams. It should expand to 16. And I say, no, it shouldn't. We're going to have a SEC Big 12 challenge this weekend. And I know Tennessee's going to play Iowa State. And you know what? I don't find it to be all that intriguing. Why should I? The games are forgotten. Last year, or I should say last season, Kentucky and North Carolina, monster programs, played a game in December. It was a 103-100 final. Kentucky won 47 points behind Malik Monk. That should have been major headline. That should have been a ball game remembered in basketball circles for years. It won't be, because the season is so meaningless that, oh, that took place in December, it's still football season. Oh, they're playing, yeah, that's a nice matinee right there. Let's say, oh, Malik Monk, who's he? Oh, he scored 47, that's nice. Yeah. I guess he'll be in the, in one of the one and dones of Kentucky, That's the reaction it got. And then later on, North Carolina would beat Kentucky in the NCAA tournament. It was all for naught. Meanwhile, compare college football regular season. Talked about this before. Remember how in the 90s, Tennessee, Florida, that was always a playoff game. Always. 3rd September, that was a playoff game in college football for all intents and purposes. It was huge. You don't have that, even if you make and expand the college football playoff to 8. And the NCAA basketball season is a great example of that, because the North Carolina and Kentucky game, as wonderfully played as it was last year, is totally and completely forgotten. Speaking of basketball, Maria True came in here, interrupted the show. Johnson County, Unicoi County is the ball game we're going to be having. Unicoi County undefeated in the Three Rivers Conference. Johnson County with 3 losses, so it's a must-win game for the Longhorns when they come into Irwin tomorrow. This is the boys. Girls tip-off at 6:30. Trevor Hensley, the all-time leading scorer for Unicoi County basketball. He's got 2,000 points. These games are brought to you, so we'll have 6:30 tomorrow for the women, 8 o'clock for the men, and I'll be behind the mic. Here are the sponsors for these Unicoi County broadcasts beginning at 6:30 tomorrow. Health and Home Care, Jones and Church Farms, Unicoi County Insurance Agency, Unicoi Gas Utility District, Farm Bureau Insurance, Irwin Paint and Body Shop. They've done work on my car. They should do work. Hopefully you won't need them, but if you do, they're there for you. And they don't insult your intelligence by thinking that they have some sort of godlike power over the weather, if it's good. Irwin Paint and Body Shop. They fix cars. They don't have delusions of godliness. Clinchfield Federal Credit Union. The Irwin Computer Guy. Even if you do not have a computer, you should go to Gay Street in downtown Irwin and visit Vince and the Computer Guy. First of all, let me tell you something. This man has a collection of absolutely gorgeous autographed photos of absolutely gorgeous brunette women that you will want to look at. If you're a male, I suppose. Even if you're a woman. Say, let's see what the styles are. So, Shania Twain is the highlight right there. But he's got this row of extraordinarily beautiful brunette women, autographed pictures, Shania Twain and others, up in the store. So you'll want to visit it often. On top of that, $39.99. That's his diagnostic fee. Now compare that to other people throughout the Tri-Cities. You're going to find out what people in Unicoi County know, that he's the best in the area. And if you are in Unicoi County, okay, short drive to downtown Irwin. No big deal. You're outside of Unicoi County. Remember what I just told you. $39.99. diagnosis, compare that to everybody else. You are saving money driving from wherever you may be in the Tri-Cities to come into Irwin and have Irwin Computer Guy in downtown Irwin fix your computer. I mean, just figure that out. And then you can, do the whole thing that you usually do when you make a run like that. And you shop at the various other stores in downtown. If you're coming in from Greenville or whatever, and see, okay. Well, you know what? I need to go food shopping as well. I'm here right now. I might as well. You do stuff like that. Relay for Life of Unicoi County. The dentist, Dr. Jason Cunningham, for instance, you go in, get your teeth cleaned at Dr. Jason Cunningham's place. Irwin Utilities, they sponsor the free throws during the ball games. Irwin Bonding, Unicoi County Memorial Hospital, urgent care of Irwin. Irwin Pets and the Irwin Kentucky Fried Chicken will be giving away a $25 worth of free Kentucky Fried Chicken to a lucky listener during the ball game from Irwin KFC. So you'll want to tune in. 6:30 for the girls, 8 o'clock for the boys, if you're politically correct, for the females and the males. Most of the players are under 18, so, we could call them young men and young ladies, I suppose. Anyhow, that's the case with that. I'm going to try talking Hall of Fame in the next hour, but when we come back, I've got some NFL draft notes that I'm going to get to. Tri-City Sports Now is going to return right after this. As soon as I can find the bumper music. There we go.